We're live. I was expecting some kind of like intro, and we
Oh,
did not.
yeah.
I forgot to do it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It's been a
There's your
while.
intro. Very, very professional. So, guys, welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Guys, I am Mike Spider Slayer. Next to me, we have Brant Fowler.
What's up, everybody?
And then, of course, we have Kat Comic Uno.
Hello, guys. What is up?
Yes, and we have another good show for you today. We got some, Flashpoint talk. We got that Spider-Man talk that it was kind of funny. We talked about it last week, whoever the creative team is going to be. And sure enough, it was the next day that news dropped. So we waited a whole week to discuss it. So hopefully you guys will discuss it with us. And we got some other great news and, of course, the comic books to talk about. And any other topics you guys want to talk about, just let us know. Just ask us that question. So we appreciate it. If you like, please give us a thumbs up sometime during this show. So let's take it away, Kat. Let's get started.
Yes, let's get started as I clear off the dock as we go along, too. So our first news for comic-wise is Liefeld is going to be joining that NFT crowd. So, Mike, you marked this down. What did you think?
I think I give him credit. He's trying to do something trendy and, outside of the box a little bit, getting on there before maybe everybody else does an NFT comic book. The difference is there are NFT comic books out there. The other thing is they're all reprints, right? So he's got a new book with new characters. So I don't know. It could be kind of cool. I give him credit for trying it out, and I don't know. We'll see what happens for it. Maybe, and then maybe you never know. It'll probably come out in print too. But you'll be able to have NFT comic book from yours truly, from Rob Liefeld.
So excited.
Yeah, I don't know if I want that, but I don't think I'll be reading it.
That some of this NFT stuff is absolutely insane, though. Like, honestly. My manager that I work with over at Publix, when I worked there, the 1 day a week that I worked there, he's an NFT guy. Like, he's kind of dabbling in it, and he's got into some stuff, which is kind of funny. And he's got a baseball card NFT, like one of the first ones that came out. And he's saying that this particular NFT card could go for like almost, and there's people in the chat that are much more knowledgeable than him saying that it could go for like 250 grand. And God. Yeah, there's some stuff out there, and he's gotten some comic ones and he's done quick flips on them. So right now it may be trendy, but you can make a quick buck if you are looking to flip some NFTs.
Any other thoughts on the big world of NFTs? Let's get Kat a Rob Liefeld NFT for her birthday. I mean, I'll take it. I'll sell it.
Yeah. I don't know enough about the whole thing with the NFTs. It's like way out there for me.
It's weird. Yeah, it's totally weird. I don't see the infatuation with it, but people see it as it's like it's like Bitcoin or something like that. It's just one of those things that it's digital, and supposedly eventually, you could get like all kinds of different NFT stuff. Like you can own like your own land and all this other shit. And dude, we're gonna be in Ready Player One in no time. It's gonna happen.
I'm telling you. I forget who it was, but I saw like some big comic writer like praising NFTs for what they could do for like basically working as some sort of a royalty system for artists. So they keep getting money over and over again for stuff. I didn't quite get the whole gist of it, but it was an interesting conversation. I saw that in passing. But.
Right.
So let's move on to the next. Well, actually, there's some comments if you guys want to pull those up. We have, let's see, thoughts on Sean Gordon Murphy's Batman Beyond White Knight. I mean, I'm interested in it. I've been liking the White Knight stuff. Anything
that Sean Murphy does is I'm a fan of, and the cool thing is like he hasn't done anything in a little while now. So the next project that he comes out, if it's this, I'm totally on board with it. So there's no doubt in my mind that I would pick it up.
Yeah, I'm
I
excited.
don't.
I also read the sequels. You didn't read any of it, right?
I didn't read any of it, so yeah, I've got no opinion.
Facebook user asks, are you or any of you know when the second print of Animal Castle will come out? I don't know. I know the second issue comes out tomorrow, so maybe it'll come out around the same time.
I don't know. I thought my shop last week had Animal Castle, and I wonder if it was the second print or not. I don't know. We can look it up real quick. I think Brant's looking it up.
Yeah, there's one on eBay, so it must have come out already.
Yeah, I think it was last week because I remember seeing it there at my shop last week. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, it's got to be out because there's several sites that are selling it. So.
All right. Well, let's get into the next topic, which is I want to try skipping. Well, we could go the Wonder Girl being canceled, which is kind of like canceled under the radar, which is so weird. Yeah. I don't know if it's because it's building to that new event. Or I
think it's canceled. Like I don't see it. I don't think it's coming back. I heard a couple other YouTubers talking about it too. It was solicited. There was a solicitation for issue 8, and it's ending at issue 7. Yeah. So it's abruptly ending. Like the story's not even going to be finished.
That sucks.
Yeah,
I like the book. I think it's good. It's a little slow and it suffered from delays. Yeah, the art was gorgeous. A lot of delays. Yeah, I think the delays really hurt it getting a following. But visually, it's a stunning book, and I'm really sad about just not being able to look at that every time it comes out. But I hope that they do something like with the Wonder Woman family. Like I would love to see like a Wonder Girls book or a Wonder Women book. Just have Cassie and her and I can't remember the other characters now, but the one Donna Troy, all the I'd love to see a book that featured all of them, honestly.
It looked like it was going in some kind of crazy direction,
right?
And it stopped. Do you think the book suffered from
I paused
from her doing the writing and the artwork on there?
I mean, it's possible. Yeah, I don't know what else Joelle's doing, so I mean, that's always a factor, right?
The last issue, she didn't even draw the last issue. There was a different artist on there. So I don't know, but that really sucks. And it's kind of sucky because it was like Yara had a lot of momentum and it just went all downhill since Future State didn't really work out. And then the whole show fell through.
Yeah, it's definitely the TV show aspect, I think.
Right. And then it's like, you had our first issue, and I think a lot of people were on board with it. And then I think people didn't like this. I think we liked the story, but I don't think a lot of other readers enjoyed the story.
I think Wonder Woman in general has been hard for a franchise for people.
Yeah, and Yara Flor specifically, this story, like the Future State one, was so fast because they only had 2 issues to tell it, but it just like got you right in the middle of everything, and you got a real good sense of her personality. With this series, while it was still good and it was still her personality, it dragged. And then with the delays, it made it drag even more. So I could see how people might lose interest in it. I'm just sad about it because I really like the character and I really like the art. So
yeah, definitely a disappointment.
Yeah.
We also have some other questions here. Do you think the new Silk comic will be good? I hope so. Right?
We always hope so.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan. Was the last one was the one where she was like fighting that gigantic like dog cat creature?
cat demon thing, yeah.
Yeah. See, I didn't like that. And I fell off of it when it was ongoing. And is this supposedly ongoing too? This new one?
I don't know. I don't even know who the creative team is.
A mini. I feel like it's probably a mini. Comes out tomorrow, you said?
Yeah.
2022. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. If it's like one of the YA writers, then I'm guessing it's probably a mini. Emily Kim.
And In Hyuk Lee is the cover artist. Takeshi Miyazawa is the penciler. So I don't know. I don't know either one of the writer or the artist well, so I don't know what their background is. So I don't know if this is going to be good or not. So
I think
it
it's
says it. Yeah, go ahead.
What were you gonna say? I was just gonna say I think it's sneaky Marvel where they're like just trying to test the waters. They'll make an ongoing if it's good, and if it's not, they'll make it a miniseries.
Yeah, it looks like this one is delving more into her Korean culture. It talks about ancient Korean magic and social
That's
media,
cool.
whatever. Yeah, so
I don't love the social media angle, but
yeah, right.
the magic's cool.
Yeah, and it talks about existentialism and stuff. So we'll see. We'll see if it's good. We'll definitely try it. There's a lot of Spider books coming out tomorrow, so
Yeah,
we'll talk about that.
for sure. All right, so that was our questions in the comments. So let's move on to our topics here. We're gonna skip the 2 comic topics just because we're gonna talk about it at the end because they're our main topics. So we're gonna go to John Diggle. That's a legacy-esque Arrowverse show on the CW, which is called like Justice U or something. And it's interesting because I think it was last week we talked about like the CW ending, and then it's like, oh, guess what? We have Justice U out now too. Like they're trying to like bring the CW back in some regards. I read the article a little bit more about the CW stuff, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna just try to get a lot of shows out, try and make money. I'm like, are you burning money by doing that too? Especially for like an old character like Diggle. It's just a weird choice.
Yeah, and just like skimming this article, it's like it compares it to a Harry Potter meets X-Men hybrid. So I'm assuming it's like a school aspect of it. So Justice U is like Justice University kind of thing.
It's a CW show. That's what it is. It sounds like it, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's Berlanti again. So I mean it's the same, producer and everything. So
what characters are they gonna bring in here? And it already sounds like something we've already watched.
Yeah, like I mean, if they're pulling characters that already exist, we've definitely seen that because we kind of saw that in Arrow in the past, in the last couple of seasons where they had, him bringing up this whole team and of younger superheroes and stuff. So I don't know. It's I don't know how to feel about this. I'm way behind on like all the CW shows. I mean, I finished Arrow, but the rest of them I'm way behind on. So I don't even know where things are or where things left off. So.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it even gets picked up. But the 2 bigger things that happened, we'll talk about the Moon Knight trailer, which sadly I didn't have a chance to watch. So you guys have to tell me, how was the Moon Knight trailer? Also, I think the reason why I didn't click so quickly was just because this is the one I'm definitely least excited for from the Marvel show, the Disney Plus shows. I mean, I like that it's like a Netflix Plus type thing. Like it feels like a new Netflix show from the Marvel stuff, but it's just not a character I'm interested in.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Mike.
I actually watched the trailer while watching the football game because that's when they debuted it.
Which is smart.
Yeah, and I thought it looked good. I really do because you get to dive into the multiple personalities of Mark, and I think that is going to take a really good performance to do all that. And I found myself intrigued on how the actor handled it. Like, I just want to see that in itself and how he transformed into Moon Knight. Like, you got to see that real quickly. And it's kind of dark. Like, it's a dark show. And I am really looking forward to get rid of that comment there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you get rid of it? Because I think it's on your
I'm going to try, yeah.
Oh, no, it's on our channel. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, don't do that. Not cool. Yeah, no, I agree. It's it's not what I expected, and I think for that aspect of it, Kat, you might want to check it out. He's like it starts off with him and like working for some office, and they're calling him Steven, and then he gets this phone call, and it's like, Mark, you're alive, and he's like, why are you calling me Mark? And so it really dives deep into the multiple personalities of DID and all of that in this trailer, at least. So I assume that's going to be a big part of the series. And he like wakes up like driving a truck with a gun in his hand, doesn't know where he's at, and that kind of thing. So that whole side of it was very interesting to me. So
yeah,
it looked cool.
I'm definitely gonna watch the pilot of it. So I'm really trying to give all the Marvel shows a shot this year. So it's just interesting to see Moon Knight's coming first, then She-Hulk and like Miss Marvel.
Yeah,
because that one's coming out in March, right? I think it's
March 30th. Yeah.
So we'll see how it comes out. All right. Well, let's move on to something I actually have to screen share because it is a new costume. And the the Batgirl first look for, I guess it's the Batgirl movie. I don't know where she's appearing first, but this is her new look. It's very Burnside.
Burnside, yeah.
I like
Definitely.
it. If you're going for the Burnside look, it looks exactly like Burnside.
Yeah.
I think it looks cool. It's not like, oh my God, that's the most amazing costume I've ever seen, but I think it's chill. It's a chill costume. It's solid.
I mean, cinematically, I think it works better, right? So
yeah, it looks very like kind of looks very durable, and I guess for somebody, like Barbara, I mean, you're gonna want something like that, right? I mean, that's it. Just I don't know, that it does look a little stiff, and maybe because it's just a still, right?
Yeah.
But it would look like it'd be hard to move in there. So
yeah.
But it does work. I don't think it's my favorite costume, but it'll be interesting to see like how it is actually on screen instead of seeing it just like I said on a still picture.
I saw somebody say, I forget where I saw it, but they kind of said it was like a definitely Burnside, but it also reminds you of the 60s Batman Yvonne Craig costume a little bit. Color-wise.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what tone this movie's going to be, like what it's going to bring us. This is HBO Max original movie. And after seeing the Don't Look Up numbers, like the movie that came out during that Christmas with Leonardo DiCaprio, I know a lot of people are complaining like, oh, I want to see Batgirl on the big screen. It seems like these streaming movies are doing better than the big screen. So this honestly might be a big plus for Batgirl.
Yeah.
More people probably watch it.
Absolutely. I think they've kind of tapped into that with some of these movies that have gone straight to the streaming services. They do really well, especially in when the pandemic is still raging. So,
we have a lot of questions from Tevia. Did you watch the new Scream movie? I believe I'm the only one who watched a new Scream movie here. I left a little tweet on my Twitter about what I thought about it. Still like Scream 4 more, but I think it's worth watching. But I do think it kind of falls apart in the final act. And then I saw Naomi as well. I thought it was actually pretty solid. It was a good show. I don't know if I'll continue to watch it, but I thought it was a pretty good pilot.
Is the new Scream movie only in the theaters?
Yeah, it's only in the theaters.
Okay. Yeah, I want to see it. I'm a fan of the franchise, so I definitely want to see it.
I've seen them all.
It's a fun watch. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen them all, but I've never seen one in the theater.
Oh, really?
Not a single one.
It was a nice theater experience, I think, because there's such a big fan base for it. I saw it on like a Sunday, so it wasn't even like opening day or anything. But I
still haven't seen Spider-Man.
Man, yeah,
we're going Thursday.
Spider-Man first. Okay,
I think this is the last week it's going to be in our theater. So yeah, it's we're going Thursday. All the times like. Yeah, like today there were 6 showtimes, and by Thursday there's only 5, and then it's like it's slowly fading away,
dwindling down. Yeah.
Okay, so that is I think all the media news talk. So we're gonna go into our main conversation. So first we're gonna talk about Flashpoint returning with Jeff Johns after everything that happened with Jeff Johns with the Ray Fisher stuff. He is returning for Flashpoint. I don't know why DC loves Flashpoint so much. I thought it was a fine story. I don't need to return to this. You love Flashpoint?
Yeah,
I love Flashpoint too.
Honestly, that I think when you look at the most recent events from DC, like that was the last really good event that they had. I mean, you had reboots, like you had DC Rebirth, but like Flashpoint, that was a major story. I love that story. I really do. Yeah. And I think DC needs something for people to get excited about.
Do you think a Flashpoint sequel will do that?
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. I think a lot of people, and Jeff Johns attached to it as well. I still, he had his, that down period there for a little bit, but I think, things get brushed away and people get forgiven. We don't always know the true story of what happened, but people will be excited that Jeff Johns is back and that he's writing that story. And I think this is something that DC needs. Now, how the story turns out, we don't know. Is it going to be good? We don't know. Will it be a stretch? Who knows? But that initial 0 issue is going to be a pretty big deal.
I mean, Radio Vidax, what's there to go back to? And I think that's my concern. It's like it was a one and done story. They did bring Thomas Wayne back in the Tom King stuff, and we all really enjoyed that. I think it was one of Tom King's better stories. I think it always was more interesting that Martha was the Joker, and that's something that like always is like a little bit touched upon in these stories, but never fully like talked about. So if Flashpoint was going to talk about anything, I think that would be really cool to touch upon, because it's the thing that's always been mentioned but never really has been fleshed out.
Yeah, and I think that might be where they're going with it too, is touching on that whole thing, and that is a very interesting, subplot of that whole story. So I really do hope that's what they're doing, and they kind of open up some of those stories that they introduced in that event.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought there were a lot of cool books about that. And case in point, the Frontline newsletter is returning tomorrow. Just FYI, everybody, if you want to go sign up, you can go to our website. There'll be a little pop up at the bottom, and you can get notified. But I actually wrote a little piece about why I love Flashpoint in it already, so you'll get to read
nice.
that. Yeah. So, and I also talk about the specific miniseries that I enjoyed the most. From what I can remember, it's been a while, but also this, it was such a pivotal event, right? So it ushered in the New 52, and that's like huge. You can't ever take that away from it. And I also kind of compared it to Age of Apocalypse in that, you took all these characters, you took them in completely different directions. Some of them were in places where you wouldn't expect to see them, like Deathstroke being like a pirate and that kind of thing. And, Atlantis and the Mascara War and those kind of things I thought were really interesting, and what they did with Superman, and just a lot of fun, cool Elseworlds type stories. So,
right. I mean, when you look at Jeff Johns and what he did, he wrote that event that led into the New 52, right? And then you look on the flip side of thing, he wrote Rebirth to get back to what the DC heroes used to be like, to get DC back on track. And then things kind of, went south from there. But he wrote 2 like almost bookends, and then there was all the stuff in between, right? When it comes to DC Comics. So that's pretty big stuff right there. And, whether he will duplicate that or not, I don't know. What happens after this, we don't know either. But I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think there was another question. Let me see if I missed it. Mike Manhattan says, I'm more excited for his Red Coat comic. Have you guys read Geiger? I don't even know what this Red Coat comic is, but I know Mike reads Geiger.
Right.
I read Geiger, and he's having this whole Geiger verse.
Oh, okay. So it's based in there.
So there's all these different characters that are taking place in his universe. So that's what his imprint is. I forgot the name of the imprint of what it's called, but he was supposed to have it in DC Comics, and they wouldn't allow it. So that's why he brought it to Image Comics. So, and that's what the Geiger verse is. So I think it's just another character in that universe, and there's going to be more as time goes along.
Interesting. Well, let's get into the main topic of tonight, I would say, which is the new Amazing Spider-Man team. 3 of us are very, very big Spider-Man fans and love talking our Spidey. So there's some interesting news here that John Romita Jr. is returning for Spider-Man, and then Zeb Wells is going to be the writer, which do we know what Zeb Wells has written in the past? Obviously, I know his name, but I don't know specifically what he's written.
I know he's from Robot Chicken. That's like where he came from, but go ahead.
Champions?
He did Hellions, it looks like.
Hellions he did.
He's done some Amazing Spider-Man, it looks like. He did Nova for a little while.
Amazing Spider-Man prevents Anti-Venom, New Ways to Live, Avenging Spider-Man, Carnage, Spider-Man Beyond. He's involved in that. Yeah, he's involved in that. Spider-Man. Yeah, he wrote some stuff in Brand New Day, Kraven's First Hunt, a bunch of Spider-Man stuff, a lot of Spider-Man stuff. New Warriors, with Scotty Young.
So it doesn't look like he did champions. I think that was Zim. Zim. That was Jim Zub.
Jim Zub, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what it
Which
was.
kind of has similar names, it feels like.
Ant-Man Volume 2, 1 through 5, he also wrote. So.
Oh, nice. So that's what Zeb is known for, has done some of the Beyond stuff, which, you know, we haven't been loving. But, oh, man, I don't know. I'm glad there's one writer, so that's nice. But I really am not a fan of Romita Jr.'s art, like, ever. Like, even, like, in the good days, it always felt very bulky to me. It's just not my thing. You know, it's just not my style of art. So I'm not happy about that. Remember Superman, when he was on Superman, and, like, how it just... We personally couldn't read it.
Okay, so that was like honestly probably my least favorite artwork that I've ever seen. That's saying nice things, right? That's my least favorite artwork that I have seen him ever do. Period. Like that Superman, his Batman that he drew without a cape. Like he would constantly draw him without a cape. Then he drew that other like wannabe Superman guy. Like, I don't even remember that guy in that run. Like, he most recently did Darkseid in an issue. That was like the last thing he drew for DC. And, you know, I have not been a fan of his stuff ever since he started doing Iron Man back in the 90s. It's
a very specific style, you know?
It's
just very specific.
Everything is box. And all the characters look the same.
No facial expressions.
Like I think Bleeding Cool had a actual preview art from there, and there was what's his face? Oh my god, I totally forgot his name. Dude, who's the guy with like the buzz cut and he's like silver, and he's made out of Tombstone, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Dude, he drew him on there. If you look up that article or whatever it is, that does not look like Tombstone. I mean, not at all. And the other issue that I have is all the lines that he has. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Here we go.
Here's a preview.
Here's some good stuff in here. So, all right. So Spider-Man, you know, he looks okay, you know. But
his hands are mushed into his face. It doesn't like because of the reds. It doesn't really look great. And look at I forget the bunny's character. I always forget her name. But you don't even see a face there.
Right. Well, then you look at the guy on the left, right next to Spider-Man there, and every male character looks exactly like that guy. They all look the same, right? So then keep scrolling, Brent.
Oh, that's not me, but yeah.
Oh, Kat, I'm sorry, Kat. I didn't know. So we don't even know. So again, who the guy with the hat? Like, who is that guy? You know? But that's Tombstone.
I hope it's not Peter.
Yeah, isn't that that's Tombstone?
Yeah, that's Tombstone. Not looking hot in there.
Come on, like seriously. And there's, you know, Zeb Wells. I don't have an issue with. I think he could do fine if he has a story to tell. Look at those. It just doesn't work. You know, I looked up artwork from old John Romita Jr. when he first started doing Spider-Man, and it actually looked really good. And then
the 9/11 issue is a good example of that. The Amazing Spider-Man 9/11 issues a good.
Yeah, well, when you look at Straczynski stuff, yeah, but he even drew Spider-Man well before that too, and it was much better back then. But I don't know, man. Again, Zeb Wells, I'm on board with. I get maybe they're trying to do maybe more of a street level, maybe classic look for Spidey, but there's so many other artists out there that you can give the job to. You don't have to bring back Romita to draw Spider-Man. I think he'll probably draw a really good first issue, and then it's just going to deteriorate from there.
That's the first issue. We already don't like it.
I mean, the only artwork that I can say that I don't mind from him is Kick-Ass, because Kick-Ass is its own book. It's its own, you know, character that nobody else drew, and it fits kind of that gritty tone. And maybe again, that's what they're going for here, and they're thinking, oh, that might work, you know. I don't know, man.
I think the thing with that book with Kike is that that's all we, like you said, that's all we've ever known for that. So it kind of
Right.
fits because of that. But Spider-Man, I mean, just I don't want to like totally hate. It's not my favorite art style. I've been very vocal about that on the Life of this show. It's boxy, it's flat, it's like the lines on the face and everything. Yeah,
there's not a lot of energy, you know. And we're talking about like Spider-Man right now, and we know, guys, that this is older news, but we never got a chance to express what we wanted to say.
I think it came out like that Wednesday after our show.
And I never even did a video because I wanted all three of us to talk about it. But not even thinking about like Spider-Man, like he's supposed to has all these crazy poses and, you know, again, a very dynamic looking character. But, right, think about the other characters on this book. Mary Jane, Black Cat, Doc Ock, Mysterio, Lizard. Like, is he going to draw all these characters? Like, he can't even, it doesn't even work for freaking Tombstone, you know? Yeah. So, I don't know, man. It's
a weird choice also, because the one thing I will say about this arc of Spider-Man, even when I don't like the story, the art is always pretty solid. Like, I never really hated the art in this Beyond story arc. So to go to like John Romita Jr., which again, I get because he's a classic Spider-Man artist. So maybe they're trying to bring people back to Spider-Man saying, oh, look, it's the old days of Spider-Man. But I think he's very divisive with his style. So it's a weird choice as well. I don't know if it's not Todd McFarlane, you know?
Yeah. We got a super chat. If you didn't
so let's new type JB for $5. Thank you so much. Do you think Ben Reilly only worked on as a youthful foil to married Peter back in the 90s, and since the marriage doesn't exist anymore, Ben feels redundant? Yeah. I wish I had more to say to that, but yeah.
I mean, if they would figure out something to do with the character that made sense for the character and didn't like completely ruin the character, that would be great, but they haven't been able to do either of those things ever since the Clone Saga. So yeah, I love Ben Reilly. I love Scarlet Spider. I love the New Warrior days, but everything they've tried to do with them since has just fallen completely flat.
We got Tony Stank says, are they trying to get us to stop buying Amazing Spider-Man?
They might succeed.
Yeah.
Maybe not for the three of us, but for a lot of people. You know, and that's kind of what's interesting about this Spider-Man stuff is that it's not, you know, Batman, they keep trying to make it exciting and they're like, oh, well, you got to pick up Batman now. You got to pick up Batman. I'm trying to think if there's a Marvel equivalent to that. I'll say they're trying to do it with the Avengers. They're not succeeding, but at least they're trying to inject some excitement. And they're like, oh, She-Hulk War, here it is. Spider-Man, they're not doing anything to make it exciting. Like, how are new people going to jump on?
Yeah. Can you highlight I guess I can do it too, but the architectural form.
Oh, yeah.
This one. It disappeared. But anyway, talks about the storytelling chops are incredibly dynamic yet crystal clear, filled with energy, very kinetic. I get if you don't like the way he draws faces, but art is more than the style. So it's not just the way he draws faces for me, and I think I tried to explain that, but I don't get the dynamic, filled with energy vibe that you're getting, and that's personal opinion.
To me, it's like the complete opposite.
Absolutely. I feel like it's stop motion. it's just like everything's in slow motion with Romita's art for me.
He's very flat.
It's just, so we just don't, we're not fans of it. That's fine that you are. That's great. All art is subjective. So I just wanted to put it out there. It wasn't anything just about, I don't like the way he draws faces. Like, I know Mike was talking about the faces in particular, but it's much more than that for us. It's the whole package of the art, and it doesn't feel energetic at all to me. So,
and I feel like with the faces, it's not even the expressions. It's just all those lines. I think that's what really hurt Tomb Raider. It's like this Jim Lee style of line work, but I don't even like Jim Lee's line work sometimes when there's a lot of lines on faces. It's just not the thing I like. I know artists do it, and there's obviously a style to it. I just never have liked that because it takes away from the realism for me.
Yeah, I just think
Yeah.
it's just every character looks the same when he draws them, and
Mm,
that's the only that's why I brought up the faces. But it's much for
yeah.
me. It's just much more than the faces in itself. It's just like everyone is just really boxy, flat, like you said, the line work and all that other stuff. And in a title like Spider-Man, you're looking for energy. You're looking for 3D. You're looking for the character to pop out of the pages. That is what you're looking for. That's why Todd McFarlane back in the day was so successful because his artwork was something completely different that no one has ever done in the Spider-Man book before, right? And ever since then, he revolutionized the character, and ever since then people have been trying to duplicate that, right? You had Eric Larson that followed him, you had Mark Bagley that followed him. You've had so many other artists in the past, make that character very dynamic. Like someone mentioned on here, why not use Patrick Gleason?
Hmm.
Patrick Gleason would be fine for me too. He's done some great issues in the run,
Yeah, I really
so
liked his art. There's another artist who's newer, and obviously you want to sell the book, but the one who did the hospital issue where Mary Jane kind of saves the
Yeah.
day. I think we were actually not on the show for that one. I love the art for that. I think that's the best art we've seen from the run thus far. I think it's like a newer artist.
Mm. Even I don't know who did this week's issue, but even that one, I would take that art. So, yeah,
that
Yeah.
was Paco Mandina.
Paco Medina.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Paco Medina did
yeah,
this.
absolutely.
he's really good, and the colors
Mhm.
that he uses is really good too. Like again, the color really brings that comic book to life. But I've enjoyed the artwork there. I love the characters' facial expressions. It's just you want to feel the emotion. That's why I always say faces, because when you read comic books and you see facial expressions from the characters, you want those facial expressions to draw you into them. You want to feel their expression, right? When you're reading that dialogue off the page and you're like, damn, man, that shit's intense. When you read that or you look at that expression and they all look the same, there's no emotion there, man.
Yeah, I do get that point that a lot of artists draw every face they draw is similar, and I think that's a thing with artists where if you look at a lot of artists, their faces will resemble themselves, and it's just because that's the face you see the most every day. You
Sure.
look in the mirror, you see your face.
Absolutely.
So yeah, like Frank Quitely in the Grant Morrison X-Men run, I think every face in that in that book looked similar. And if you look at Frank Quitely, there's features that are similar to that. So yeah, I get that argument, but at the same time, like Mike was saying, you still have to have those expressions and that personality in those faces, even if they do look a little similar. And I don't think we get that from him. You can disagree, that's fine. But we have talked about this before, that his style did definitely change since he did those original Spider-Man issues that he did way back in the day. He like morphed his style and kind of made it his own personal thing, and
Right.
we're just not fans of that. So,
Right. I just remember when he first changed it in that Iron Man series that he did back in the day, like Armor Wars or
yeah,
whatever it is, and
yeah,
and then he did it in like I guess it was the New Avengers. When they did that first reboot, he did a lot of the cover art on there. It's just a lot of stuff that he did, and it's obviously it's distinctive. Like you can tell it's him. So it's like,
hmm
is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? It depends if you like his art or not.
yeah,
And in a way, it is good because it's like, oh, hey, look who it is. It's John Romita Jr. Just like
true,
J. Scott Campbell. You look at his artwork,
yeah,
you know right away that it's him. There's so many people out there. Roberto Ramos. You see the way
yeah,
his characters are drawn, it's the same thing. So you can pick out certain artists right away.
right, yeah. So, and that's probably why he did it too, just to define that style instead of just being one of the many people that draw a book, and it's like, oh, who drew that one? It looks like that, whatever. But
You know,
Charlie
that's cool.
says You were excited for Kindred. I was excited for that super suit he had for 5 seconds that they only had it for one storyline. Books hasn't been good since. I gotta say, I think we were excited for Kindred for like a hot second compared to how long it was. Then we're like, Kindred, get out of here.
Yeah.
And then we were just excited for nothing. We were excited for the book to end.
We were excited for something different. And that's what Kindred was promising to be, and it wasn't. It was the same old thing. So.
Right.
This is a good question. Who would you say is or the classic icon? Okay, so who is the classic Spider-Man artist to you? I think it's either Mark Bagley or Todd McFarlane. I know Mark Bagley's more modern in that regard, but he's done so much.
It depends in the era that you grew up.
Yeah.
So it's for some
me, it's
people.
Mark Bagley in that regard.
Yeah, for some people it could be Ditko. For me, it was Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson. Those were the two that got me attached to Spider-Man and made me really appreciate the character on what he could do and how people can make Spider-Man bend the way that he bent, and stuff like that. And then I would say a third would be Mark Bagley. I think Mark Bagley kind of changed it to where it was an between the two, like from the classic style and then from the over exaggerated style. He kind of put his Spider-Man in between those two types.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the era I grew up into. I was never a huge fan of Larson, but definitely McFarlane was the era that I really got into Spider-Man. I think I'm trying to remember who the artist was right before that, but it was probably McFarlane and then Bagley for me as well.
Yeah, I think it was that order. I think it was McFarlane, then Larson took over, and then after Larson it was Mark Bagley.
Before that, was it Friends? Is that who was on it before?
All that? Maybe. So maybe. 297 was the last issue that artist did.
God, I love Ron Friends. I think he does a really good Spider-Man too.
Yeah. That's another one of the names that I kind of associate. I just don't remember exactly where he stopped.
It's Tom DeFalco's stuff. I think he did. So whenever Tom was writing Spider-Man,
right. And the thing is Spider-Man still going to be like twice a week, like
or it's been every week.
It's been every week, and that's I think just to get through this event, but how can he even keep up with 2 issues a month? Like they're going to have a fill-in artist. There's never not a time where we have an alternate artist for Amazing Spider-Man. There's always been somebody else.
I don't think we're going to have Romita Jr. on this book for a long time. I think it's just an announcement artist, if I'm being honest. It's like when we had Dan Moore for Detective Comics. Honestly, we had him for longer than I expected. But I really think he's going to be here for 5 issues, and then we won't see his story arc,
and then it'll be done.
That's my guess. I think it's just to sell it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was thinking that the whole time we've been talking about it. So that's kind of my take. Oh, and by the way, White Rabbit is the bunny.
There you go. That's her name. She's like such a miscellaneous character. She always shows up, but it's always just like that character that gets beat up. She doesn't really ever have an arc.
She's like, she's definitely like C-lister for sure.
Yeah, she's just kind of there. Tevye asks, is there any opinion on it relaunching to #1? Look, it's the game we play. It's for people to pick it up. At this point, I don't care.
It doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't. It doesn't, but it's so close to issue 900. It's just weird.
But the thing is that it will be 900.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because they keep track of the legacy numbering, which is smart. That's perfectly fine. And they announced that, and it says it on every single book. So technically, when issue 900 comes around, or whatever it is, they'll go and pass, and then once we get to 1,000, they'll say 1,000. I'm fine with it. As long as they keep track of the numbers, I'm okay with that. Let them start over. Yeah. If it's an easy way to get people to jump on board a new volume, then that's fine.
Right. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said.
All right, guys. I think that is wrapping our Spider-Man talk. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to say about Spider-Man, even in our top 5 books, which we're going to go to. So what our best, or what are our top books right now? What's our first book we're going to talk about?
All right.
Big books is what I was looking for and could not find that word.
Before we jump into it, we do definitely have spoilers. Probably everyone has read their books already, but we want to make sure we give that out there before we spoil stuff. Okay.
We also have a super chat too, if we want to do that.
Yeah, let's do that. Go ahead.
Right before you do that, I just want to say I did not get to finish my book, so I don't have a proper top 5, but I do have a number 1. So,
all right, cool. We do have new type JB Lee, who says, does Miles have a good rogues gallery on the level of Venom, Hobgoblin, Doc Ock, Osborns, etc.? Because I feel like he needs better villains to thrive in 616. Yes, he does not have great villains.
No,
except his uncle.
Yeah,
and
that's
really,
that's
it.
That's really the only one, or the Ultimate Universe Green Goblin, but that was very short lived. But that's the only two.
It wasn't even his villain either. It was more
Right.
Peter's villain.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, he definitely needs better villains.
Yeah, and I think they try, but it never quite works out.
Right. Yeah.
All right, now we'll get into.
That one that he's. What's the name of the one that he's dealing with on and off right now, Mike? The one that kidnapped him. That's a big one they're trying. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but
the dude that clones him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's the only other one. Yeah, that I can think of.
He sucks too. They try and they can't do it. Like, and it's been going on forever, you know. Oh, so frustrating at Miles books. But thank you so much for the super chat. And
thank you,
guys. Please, whoever's watching, if you haven't given us a thumbs up yet, please give us a thumbs up. It definitely helps the show, and it's much appreciated. And thank you for all the comments and continuing to ask questions. We love answering your questions. So we're going to get into the comic piece now. And
so many comics.
What's that?
There's so many comics this week. This was
there was a lot of comics. Absolutely. So we're going to talk about Daredevil Woman Without Fear issue 1. All as I can say is I love this book. This book definitely surprised me. I enjoyed the history of Elektra, how she, you know, kind of went back and forth between like Stick and the Hand and just all that stuff. The artwork was absolutely gorgeous in there. It just gave you a little bit more in depth of that character, and it was good.
I thought it was okay for me. I actually thought the flashbacks part of it was like, oh, it was a little repetitive. I liked what Chip was doing a little bit more in Daredevil, like the Daredevil series itself. But I liked it. I liked it, and definitely will pick up issue 2. I just enjoyed her role a little bit more in the main series than this issue, because I just felt like it didn't move much.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it, and I felt like the flashbacks made sense. I get the, like, when it was like, I was 6, I was 12. That was a little repetitive. I agree with you on that. But, it still kind of fed into the story where she was, going back to her old haunts and that kind of thing. So I got that from like a cinematic point of view. But I really liked it. I thought, the voice was pretty clear here for her. And she's still I hate that she's still struggling with like, I've chained myself to this morality thing right now. I mean, we've heard that over and over again in the main series. So we didn't really need that here. But if it's like, first reader kind of thing, you reestablish that or whatever. So
and I think that's what they were trying to do there. Yeah,
exactly. So I thought it was fine, and learning a little bit more about her past and kind of fleshing her out a little bit for people that don't know her as well. I thought that was fun. So,
what do you think about Kraven the Hunter showing up at the end?
I did not expect that. Yeah. So that was a nice surprise.
Yeah, that definitely came out of left field. I'm like, whoa, wait a second, what's he doing here?
Yeah, especially because he usually goes after animal team people. So why is he going after Elektra?
I guess because they're just good at hunting? ?
Yeah. So, all right, that was pretty cool. I mean, I like the book too. I thought it was fun. It was entertaining. It's a good book to get you into Elektra. So that's really what it was for. All right, let's talk about a book I didn't read, and somehow it did end up in my pull list, but I didn't read it because I said I wasn't going to read it, and I bought it, but I didn't read it. And this is Batgirl's issue 2. So what did you guys think of this issue?
I don't think it's up your alley. I would definitely say that.
I knew that after the first.
It's barely up ours.
Yeah, no, exactly. We love these characters, and I still like. It's like I'm reading it because of them. I don't know if I would normally read this if it was characters I didn't know. I think I would have dropped it with issue 1, but it's fun. I don't think it's the right plot, but I like them. I still like them, and I that's it. There's not much else to say about it.
The de-aging in this issue was so much more evident, and I did not like that. Batgirl pierced Cassie's ear, like
there's a whole scene
and just
like seriously.
That's what I'm saying. It was like, oh, why are we doing this? And she didn't even take her to a place. She was like, oh, I've done this before. It's been a while. Now let me sterilize this spike and just stick it in your ear. It's like, okay.
And it looked perfect. There was not much pain.
No blood, nothing. It was like,
blood.
oh. It was fine,
So she's still more like the motherly figure instead of like a coworker or a peer to them.
For sure. Right. I think she calls Nightwing in this issue about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Even though they're going joyriding in a car. I mean, so none of it lines up. But yeah, I don't know. It's fun, but it doesn't make any sense with anything else that's going on, and the de-aging is really starting to get to me, and I don't know how long I'm going to stick with it, just because I love the characters. I want to like this, but yeah.
This will always be on my pull list just because of Steph, but I don't know if it'll always be in my top 5. And let me say, it hasn't been on my top 5 once yet. So, and that's because it's Stephanie too, and it hasn't been on my top 5.
This is like, Kat won't even know this show, but this is going back way back, but this is like, how you had the Muppets brand, and then you got the Muppet Babies. And it just seems like it seems like it de-ages these characters, Yeah.
And I feel like this book would be more successful if it was targeting people that read Batman than because I still don't know how they're finding these YA people. I still don't think YA people are picking this up. I don't really know who's picking this up besides like hardcore Stephanie, besides hardcore Batgirl fans. It's just like, I'm picking this up because I love Batgirl. I think those are the people picking it up, but I don't think that's younger people. I think that's like people my age or older.
And I think like they would have had a much more successful book if they made it for an older audience.
Yeah.
Or
like you would read it probably at that point. More people would be reading it.
Or make it clear that this is like when you advertise this book in your solicits, this is for the YA audience. This is for them. If we want the next generation of readers to get into comics, this is the comic for you. But they don't do that. And that's what pisses me off. I don't care that if it's not for me, I just won't read it. But it's just a wasted opportunity to get people to get into comics. And that's what pisses me off, because it's like, okay, you want this younger audience to read it, but you don't solicit it that way. You solicit it to like an older audience, and then they buy one issue of it and they're like, fuck this sucks. And then they throw it away and then they don't read it, and then it winds up getting canceled. So then there's all this wasted effort.
Yeah, and on top of that, they tie this into the main story arc that's been going through the Bat books, and it's like these aren't the same characters. This isn't the same. What is going on here? It's almost like they looked at the webtoon and was like, "This is really popular. This is really successful. Let's do that in comics."
Yeah,
right?
You're very right about that. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. So there's Batgirl's issue 2. We're not too fond of that one. So let's jump on to the first number 5 book, the first book that was our favorite. And Kat, what was yours?
Speaking of Batman, Batman Urban Legends issue, whatever we're up to. Mostly just because of the Zatanna story. It was nice to see Zatanna and Batman teaming up. I also like somewhat the Bat-Hound story. The other two were not really for me, but I like that they tied it together with magic. So I like that, okay, you're obviously targeting a demographic. So yeah, it was a good Zatanna story, and those are far and in between. Not that Zatanna's not good. She just doesn't show up very often.
All right, Brant, what's yours?
I didn't really have like I said, I only got a number 1 really, so I'll just talk about books as they come up. Gotcha. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Mine was actually Detective Comics issue 1048. I just have a fun time reading this book about them figuring out like Arkham Asylum can't be this great place, right? And then they send in Batwoman in there as a fake person that's interviewing for the job and talking to this to the head doctor and whatnot. And I thought that was so entertaining and so it was just intriguing because it was like you get to see her. Barbara's in her ear and she's like, oh, make sure you do this right. Make sure you're asking him these questions and why don't you go explore downstairs? And I love that, and you get to see she was kind of nervous about what was going on so she wouldn't get exposed. And you got to see little hints of maybe something on why this tower kind of starts to go crazy in the near future. I loved it. I actually like this issue better than the first issue. Just because I love seeing them doing their detective work, and that's what made it a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, this was one I didn't get a chance to read, so I'll definitely have to go back and check it out.
Don't fall too far behind because it's every week. So
right, yeah. So
and I
all right.
it.
So let's move on to a book that I really enjoyed. This was Reign issue 1. Did you read this one, Brent?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's so good.
I read this book and I was like, I right away. First of all, I thought of Kat right from the start, just because of the two girls together and just like, I wanted her to make sure that she read this, and then just the horror element of it, and she's not a horror fan, so that was why I thought of her. I was like, oh, she doesn't really like horror books, but I think she might like this one. And then I thought of Brant because I was like, Brant does like horror books, and this is done by, Brant could like this horror book, and this is done by Joe Hill, and it's not exactly like the goriest book, but this one was, I think, has a good story to it. So
this was like how to do an issue 1. It's funny because I've been doing my by visibility, putting it together and all that. And I have one of my editors who has more of a prose background. And I was like, oh, go read this. It's like the perfect issue 1. It's how you write a comic. Like the inner monologue especially. I think it's just such a good example of how to do inner monologue. It's a great example of how to pace things. I just think this is such an issue to study. It's so good. It just sucks you in from panel 1. You're like, I'm interested in this girl. I'm interested in their relationship. And it's just so poetic. And it's like, it's a hit. It's already a hit. It's just good. It's just perfect issue 1.
I love the introduction to this book. Like, she explains to you that this horrible event happened, and she explains to you all these people that had already died. And as the reader, you like get attached to these characters, but they're already dead, and you're just waiting to see how they actually died. I love the way that storytelling happened there. And when you saw them, pass away or go through that horrific experience, it was just gut wrenching. It's just, oh my God, I felt so bad.
Yeah, that's one of the things that pulled us into Seven Secrets, right? Because we learned that the main character is dead at the end of it, and so we're following his journey and everything. So it's also interesting that I believe it was last time we were together that we were talking about I was talking about how Lock and Key was the only Joe Hill book that I've ever been able to get into. So it's interesting that this came out, and this was one of the first books I read actually, and I did really enjoy it. So for all the reasons you guys said, it's the character building throughout this, especially with her inner monologue and kind of walking you through this whole thing, and you're just waiting. You're anticipating this thing that's going to happen all issue long. And you're just like, when you're looking, it's like you're looking around every corner waiting for this thing to take place. And then when it does, like you said, Mike, it was just heart wrenching. It's like she's like just out of reach, right? Like she happens to walk into the garage with the kid or whatever, and she's just out of reach and can't get to her, and has to watch all her loved ones kind of just die right in front of her eyes. Yeah,
it was the pain that they went through. It was like such an agonizing death,
And the broken love story too, where it's just like the whole book is explaining. I love the tie-in because the beginning's like, oh, you think like she betrayed her or something. You're like, oh, it's a lie. And then you're like, no, the lie was that like I've never loved anybody as much as her because I never loved anybody. And I was like, oh, How heart-wrenching. And then going
Yeah.
back to what you're saying, like just the cartooning is perfect for this book. It's just that tension you're building, which obviously horror is always built on tension. So it just, I think people could write so many interesting essays about why this is good writing and why this is good comics. And I think it was just such a pleasure.
The only criticism I'll give is I'm not a huge fan of the art style, but that's just
It's a different style.
For the most part, the storytelling kind of outweighs it, so you kind of forgive things like that when the story's really good. So, but yeah,
what got me on that though was just like the crazy facial expressions, like they were out of the norm, and you could see they were very horrific, like when they were going through the situation. Now going forward, like, what do you expect? Are these more of these storms? Like, how do these people live? I mean, there were 16 people dying every second. That's what was said in the book when that rain event had happened. I mean,
it could be the Nocterra stuff where the whole book is like about how do you survive, or it could be a Shadecraft style where you're like, man, what is the next issue? Where you're like, literally, they keep reinventing themselves every issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So pretty cool. So what do we got here? We got Doc Cop Comics as evening panel. And then we have B-Man's World. He says, so hyped for John Romita Jr. and Weld Spiderman. Going to be legendary run. Reminds me of the J. Michael Straczynski days. I sort of hated what Spencer's run devolved into. Well, we won't disagree with you on the definitely on the Spencer run for sure. You know, Straczynski's run, I know a lot of people read that run and maybe enjoyed that run, and that's great. I actually wasn't a fan of that run. Again,
I wasn't either. I dropped it.
Yeah, I did too.
There was some interesting arcs in that one. That was literally the Gwen arc was in that run.
Yeah.
The one where
the other
Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
And the other, there's a lot of interesting ones.
Mm-hmm.
We do have comments, so read it off.
Got that new type JB Lee once again. Thank you so much for all your donations to the channel. It definitely helps us, keep us going here. And it says, does Kamala have a good rogues gallery? Because I like the Inventor, Cameron, Lockdown, Doc X, Josh, though they need to be used more and affect her loved ones. What do you think, guys?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't think she has a good. I was just gonna say I don't think she has a good rogues gallery, except Josh. I think Josh is cool. I really like Josh as a villain.
The Inventor was the first one, right?
I don't remember.
The Inventor, was the first villain of her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate Doc X. I hate that whole story. I do not like that villain at all. Yeah, she's another one that needs better villains. The beauty of her story was more about the supporting cast and the character work and her family and all that. When it gets to that's why it always fell flat with these bigger stories, because her villains just aren't that good. And unfortunately, hopefully, somewhere down the line we'll get some better ones for her.
Yeah, if she gets some good villains, then I think even her book is going to improve for sure. But then again, with the new show coming out, I think it will get naturally better. And I think people are going to want to go after those back issues or trades, at least when it comes to Kamala.
What's your best villain? Josh! I like that comment. That was funny.
I mean, a guy named Josh somehow is your best villain, but...
Yeah. All right, let's move on. We talked about Reign, so we move on to The Amazing Spider-Man issue 85. So what happened in this issue?
Exactly.
Doc Ock.
Doc Ock was in it.
Ben's sad in the end.
Ben Reilly survived, he accomplished his mission, I guess. And instead of Maxine Danger hounding him, she was like, "Okay, you did okay." You know what I'm saying?
Remember, Mike, you said this was going to be the biggest issue of Spider-Man. That's how they promoted it. It was like, what happened in this issue?
I think that might be next issue.
No, that's
actually.
Okay, that's the
tomorrow's
next issue?
Yeah,
Okay, that's
tomorrow's.
tomorrow's.
Yeah.
Oh, let's hope.
Tomorrow's supposed to be the biggest issue you've ever
Oh.
thought of, and you're not going to know. It's going to be the most it's going to be one you remember forever. That's tomorrow's.
I feel like that
issue, guys.
Goblin character is just going to show up, or we're just going to get like a hint of her. And that's going to be like the biggest thing. Because what can you do with Ben Reilly that's big?
You know what I think is going to happen? Like, he gave that drive to Janine underneath the mask. That's kind of what happened there.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be on Maxine's side. She's going to betray him. I think that's what's going to happen.
Even that's like, who cares?
I know. Right. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying I think that's what's going to happen.
Oh, well, I didn't like this issue. I feel like the last issue with Dr. Octopus was a little better because they at least gave a little bit of like, oh, he was Superior Spider-Man. That's interesting. This is just...
Janine
really
dies.
happens.
That's what's going to happen.
You think she's going to die?
Yeah, she's got the drive, and she's like, you better give me that drive. And she's going to be, no, bitch, I ain't giving that drive to you. You're going to kill me. And she's going to be like, okay. And then she kills her. And then that's why on the next cover after this issue, he's all beside himself like this. Like, I don't know what to do. Janine's dead. And I think that's what's going to happen. That's my prediction.
I mean, somehow they got to take Ben out of the way. And spoiler alert for most anticipated, but Ben Reilly comes out tomorrow as well. Ben Reilly Spider-Man. So they're already on to the next thing with him. So they gotta make way for Peter to come back, right? So we're definitely gonna wind this down. I don't know. This arc has not been great.
I mean, they wasted panels with him running into a fish. And I put this in my panels.
And sandwiches.
Straight into the sandwich shop where these sandwiches were talking to him. Like, come on, dude. Like, this is what Spider-Man has become. Talking sandwiches. And you have one of Spider-Man's greatest foes. It's like the same shit over and over again. Yeah. You know? Unfortunately. I did somewhat enjoy this issue a little bit more than the last one. But that's not saying much, you know.
I like the last one more. I don't know
why. There was a little more substance to it. I mean, I guess maybe this 2-issue, Doc Ock arc was a little bit better, just because it felt like it was connected to something because it was his tech that they stole from, and he's just trying to get it back. So
I like the Aunt May issue more. I like the issue where. Dr. Octopus teamed up with Aunt May.
That was definitely better.
Yeah. Out of everything, that was the best one that I've read so far out of this entire Beyond story.
I think it's either that one or
the very first issue of this that Patrick Gleason did. That one was actually really good.
I also like the issue where it was just Peter in the hospital. I still do like that because at least it had nothing to do with Ben. I was like, all right. At least it was like kind of horror vibe.
I didn't like that issue. I mean, the artwork was cool. Like, I thought it was different, but I was like, why is there a guy that eats patients in the bottom of the hospital?
Yeah, I didn't love that.
And nobody knows that this thing is around, and nobody knows that these patients are disappearing. Like, come on, man. But it was different. It had nothing to do with anything else. So I get you.
I like the breather. Yeah, I like the breather. I was like, oh, Peter's back. I also don't even think they used Mary Jane very well in that issue, but it just felt more readable. This one I get so bored. I actually have to read Amazing Spider-Man first to just get through it. And I'm like, it's hard. I wish I was reading it first because I was excited, but it really is just like, I want to catch everything. And I'm afraid if it's in the bottom of my pile, I'm just going to speed read it.
Yeah. Sad thing is I read it like an hour before the show. So it's still like, what are you? Yeah. And Tevye, Doc Ock cares about Beyond because they stole his tech from Parker Industries that he created.
Yeah, at least that's motive. That is motive.
Right. Exactly. So, we're kind of going through the motions right now until that new issue 1 gets ready to come out, man.
It's gonna be a while.
Yeah. Something happens though too. He's like in the middle of an explosion. That's what they showed in that preview art also. So
there always is an explosion. That's always how every Spider-Man
maybe he becomes cosmic powered again, and then like
he looked very cosmic in those preview pages.
Like let's go. He becomes Super Saiyan. Like freaking go.
Oh, no. The one time
you want to talk about crazy lines, right? He drew that.
It's gonna come out.
Old X-Men issue back in the day. He did the cover of that. It's like red and orange and whatever, and it's got a complete person with like all lines in it. Like I could imagine him drawing fire.
If it's gonna go Dragon Ball, we gotta have like it's gotta come out weekly, and it's gonna take 2 months to get one punch through the whole issue. So
he's got to do the Piccolo situation.
Yeah.
You remember that? Dude, I used to love Dragon Ball Z though back in the day. I love that show.
My brother loved it.
I was always a Dragon Ball Z hater, but I like the games. The video games are fun. We have a question. So, question for the panel from Figure Drawing. Between Spider-Man and Batman, which one is spread too thin? I mean, Batman, if we're talking about like how many titles, because Batman's all of DC Comics right now. And honestly, Spider-Man's like, yes, it comes out a lot, but he doesn't have that many titles right now.
No.
Yeah, I mean, they do throw Spider-Man in everything. But I mean, that's kind of, I mean, he is Marvel, right? So it would be weird to have event stuff like Dark Ages, for example, without Spider-Man being in it, you know? But yeah, definitely Batman. There's so many freaking Bat books and Batmans in all of them.
Yeah.
So,
it literally is taking over the whole DC line. At least Marvel has a lot more other stuff than Spider-Man.
I mean, was it last week or the week before where it was all Bat books? Was all DC released that week?
Last week, yeah. That's crazy. Like, it should never be that to that point.
Yeah. Right.
You got all your eggs in one basket. And that's why, I mean, I was like, I welcome the Flashpoint thing, but it's funny how like Flashpoint does features Thomas Wayne Batman. So
right.
it's still around the Bat family there.
It's going to be the main topic for sure.
All right. So let's talk about something. I mean, I need to ask better questions.
Yeah, that's what I was laughing about.
It was a good
question. Yeah.
No question is dumb. Never think that any question is dumb here.
Only if it's hateful, then it's dumb. But if it's not hateful.
Exactly. There was a one here from Mr. Minutes. Thoughts on Queen Goblin? I don't think she'll have staying power. Another menace. Well,
I don't even think she has staying power now.
She is.
Exactly.
Right? And the problem is based off of who the character is, there's been no motive, no drive to get her to that place. Like we don't you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden she's gonna show up and she's gonna be like, I'm the Queen Goblin, blah, 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 blah. And being that they spoiled who it is already, it's kind of like when you do find out, you're gonna be like, oh, and why are you the Queen Goblin? Because you haven't been in any issues at all, except for like this issue. She made she popped in real quick and she's like, hey, Mr. Riley, don't forget we have our session today while the whole place is being destroyed and he's fighting Doc Ock. She made her appearance like in one little panel. So I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on now. Let's go on to our number 4. Kat, what's your number 4?
Mine is Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, issue 3, whatever we're up to. 4, 3.
Yeah. 3.
I think this is probably their best issue yet. I really liked that it had to do with her relationship with her sister. And we actually learned about her sister in this issue and that maybe she's not as bad of a person as we thought. And there's some really good back and forth between her and her friends. I don't love that it's through texting. I wish they were here. I don't know why they're not. But I liked it. I thought this is definitely the best issue yet of the series.
I kind of liked the texting. I thought that was fun, you know, and just like you got their voices right and all that. So, but I did enjoy the stuff with the sister too, and how neither one of them would leave the other to get hurt or whatever. Right? You know, that was cool, and it's kind of a callback with the whole circus stuff and kind of taking it to the next level, which is nice as well. So.
I like this issue. Probably the best as well from the other two. I'm still not sold on the book though. Like I love the relationship piece between her and her sister. I think that is cool. But everything else that really surrounds it, like the main plot and everything, I'm like not into. I'm not into the villain. I'm not into all that stuff. Right? Does that make sense?
I get that.
I just like her and her sister. And if they did any other adventure, it would make probably this book that much more better. So why they chose this type of adventure, I don't know. It beats me, but you know, I think that's why it drags it down for me a little bit.
I also don't love the art style for the book, but I think that's also sometimes it gets a little gritty, which is weird because it's supposed to be a very light book. It's just like very sketchy, I guess is the best way to put it. The line work itself, not the colors. But yeah, I hope for the best. I know it's like only a 5-issue mini, so I think it works for that.
Yeah.
All right. And Brent, what's your? I forget. Sorry,
That's
just
all right.
habit of always asking.
Yeah,
you.
yeah, of course.
So my number 4 is what is it? What is my number 4? I think it's Daredevil. Yeah, it's Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, and we talked about that book already. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about Dark Ages issue 4. So this is the continuation of Tom Taylor's last work at Marvel for quite a while, and this issue had to deal with our heroes going after Apocalypse for what happened in the last issue of what I think it was what Quicksilver killed Human Torch, I think it was in that last issue. And we get to see all our heroes go on this, pirate ship and or whatever boat and whatever it is. And bad things happened. I felt like this issue was a lot slower. And it was kind of like that lull between the major action that happens, except for the death that you wind up getting at the end of it. And it was kind of abrupt. And I felt like one of these deaths didn't really mean anything. They just kind of did it. Like Tom Taylor just did it to do it. I felt like in this one. So this one wasn't as exciting as the other ones. It wasn't really emotionally driven all that much. So I thought it was okay, but it wasn't as strong as the other issues.
Yeah, I thought it was a little fan servicey. This one is just like, oh, cool, that character shows up. Oh, cool, that person has a daughter now. It was just okay, and it's so hard because again, we talked about this last week. We compare it to Dark Knights of Steel, and
right.
It's so similar because they're both Elseworlds. So it's like, how do you not compare it? And this, it does feel a little fizzled out, but there are good moments in issues. Like again, we had the Human Torch moment last issue. Just this one didn't really have the oh wow, that just happened.
I completely disagree with you both. I really like this issue.
I'm ready.
I mean, I did feel like the death meant something. I mean, it's Nick Fury, and it's they're safe, and all of a sudden the spider sense, and then there's these ghost raiders, which come out of the sea, and the whole battle with Ant-Man and Fing Fang Foom. It may have been fan servicey, but I was serviced, so I was enjoying it. And I thought it kind of made sense. It's like it was a helicarrier. It was like an old shield helicarrier is what they made into a boat.
Right.
And I mean, you got to see like Black Panther and Storm back together. They have a kid and that kind of thing. And May and the kid kind of stowing away. And I just thought it all came together nicely. It was getting you from issue 2 to issue 5. I get that. It's
point A to point B type of issue. It really was.
Exactly.
It was a bridge.
Yeah, but I liked all the elements in it, and I thought it was one of those. It was like an important issue to have. Like if you think about it in terms of, I always go back to movies and stuff. You always have that scene in these big epic movies where everybody's like, okay, regroup, gather together, go out after the thing. You got to have those kind of transitional moments. Right. But I thought they did a good job not making it just kind of boring, interlude kind of thing. So right. At least stuff still happened. So I had fun with it.
No, I didn't not like the issue.
Yeah,
I liked the issue. It just wasn't, for me, it wasn't as strong as like the other issues that came out previous before that,
Yeah.
So that was that. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Fing Fang Foom. I never have been, but I mean, I thought it was kind of cool that the Ant-Man wrote him. I thought that was neat, but I don't know. I was like, okay, Nick Fury's dead. Big deal. I was like,
well, especially because Tom Taylor kills a lot of characters off, so he didn't do it in like as much of an emotional way, in my opinion. But
right. And what did Nick Fury do in this comic book?
Yeah, in this issue in particular,
what did he do in the series?
Yeah,
that's right. So that was the thing. So there's no emotional attachment to his death in the book. Yes, he's a huge character, but it's just like he would not be as important as, say, what if Spiderman died in this character in this book? You know what I'm saying? Or a major player in this book. like Johnny Storm. Like when you saw Johnny Storm, die, you're
Oh
like,
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Like
That was
that's
definitely more impactful.
huge,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? So I guess that's kind of where I'm hinting at
Yeah.
there, or going at with that. But I did still like it, just not as strong as the other ones.
Right.
Right. So that was, we were talked about Dark Ages. Okay, so let's talk about Joker issue 11. Who you read this, Brant? You told me.
No, I'm actually a
read
couple
this
issues
one.
behind on this one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Kat read this. So what do you think of Joker at this point? Is it even a Joker book? It's never been Joker book.
I don't think it's ever been a Joker book. I think it's hunting the Joker. It was fine. I think it was okay. Issue point A, point B. It's, Jim's like, oh, I gotta go get out of here and kill the Joker. I love the moments between Barbara and Jim. I always think those are the shining moments, but it wasn't the whole issue. And I like the idea that they're like, oh, it's not a superhero story, it's a horror story, so let's get into this. But yeah, it was fine. I think it was a little forgettable compared to previous issues, but I'm interested to see where this wraps, but I don't know where it's even leading to in that regard.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
When does this end? March?
I don't even know. I also don't know. I always thought it was ending really soon because obviously Tynion is gone for the most
11?
part. This is
I think
11.
Yeah, this is 11.
I think it ends at 13 or 14 or something like that. Because I know it ends really soon. I remember when Tynion was leaving, they said that it was ending sometime early 2022.
Yeah, I don't know if they gave an exact date.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to find, okay, so issue 13 comes out in March, so I don't know. I didn't really say it was the end, though, so I don't know.
I feel like this series is okay. It was so much better when it first started. And it had a lot of promise. And it had a lot of promise. And I feel like it's kind of deterred from what it was, right? It was just like,
because he left. He was always supposed to be a bigger story, and then he's like, "Well, I'll make this a little shorter."
Right. I mean, it was like Commissioner Gordon hunting the Joker. He's got this credit card where he could do whatever he wants with, and then it's just like he originally got to the front door of the Joker, and then ever since then, it's just, I don't know, man. I feel like this book could have been a lot shorter. Honestly,
I agree with that. I keep thinking, like, is this the last issue? Like I said, but there's issues I like. Like, there's issues I really like. There's one issue that was the reveal of Jim Gordon Jr. being the Talon. I thought was super interesting. So I think every once in a while there's a really good issue, but then most of the time it's like, here's point A to point B again.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that as we continue to stick with it through the end. All right, let's move on to our number 3. Kat, what was yours?
Mine was May's book, issue 5, which kind of ended the way you think it would end, and I'm happy for that. I didn't want to be surprised where it's like, oh, she's real and she's actually in this weird place. It really is just a metaphor for grief and having to let people go, and I'm glad that was the story. I know it's a sadder story, but it's a more real story because this whole book's been a metaphor for grief. And it's a story about moving on, and I think they did a really good job wrapping that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I got this book 2 weeks ago. My shop had it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I read this 2 weeks ago, but this is a phenomenal story. It's sad. It's depressing, and it always has been. We're never going to get that real happy ending, but in a way, you kind of were happy for the guy that he finally moved on, and it looks like the next chapter in his life is about to begin. And I was happy for him. So it was a good book, man. Really, really solid read. So, all right. So that was your number 3. Mine was Spider-Woman issue 18. I love Spider-Woman, man. I love how much of a badass Jessica is in this series. She's so good. I love how she tries to take on the Kingpin, for practically killing her best friend, Lindsay. And then by the time you wind up getting to the end of this issue, you wind up seeing there was an old scroll I didn't know that she had history with or whatnot, that is looking like she's trying to take her kid.
So Secret Invasion. Remember when everybody was replaced by Skrulls?
Yes.
Wasn't she replaced by one? Wasn't this who this is or something? I don't know.
I know Carol was.
Yeah.
I guess she was
I don't
too.
remember.
Yeah, I think she was. That was like the Bendis.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so
Bendis wrapped into that.
Yeah, so I think that's why there's the history there and why she doesn't want her to be there at all, especially with her, with her kid involved. So.
And
right.
She in other dimensions and timelines that character marries Johnny, I think. So she is a known Skrull.
Is that the Skrull?
I think her name's Lyra, right?
No, this is a different one. I think this is a different one.
Don't let it. Oh, you're right. It's Veronsky. I never heard of her, but whatever. Skrulls are interesting. That's a cool pass. I liked how this was tied into Devil's Reign because I hate books that just tie into things and mean nothing for the main story. And I think this book did a good job at not letting go of your main story, but still making it feel like you're tied into this big event. And I thought this is a good example of that.
Again, it makes you feel like it was part of it was part of a whole universe here. And it was great, man. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy this series. I love the way Jessica is written in this book.
Yeah, okay, Carla does a really good job with this book for sure.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. She's the one that orchestrated the entire Secret Invasion, and she posed as Spider-Woman, having captured her. So she took her place.
They really should talk about Secret Invasion more. I know everyone hated it, but I don't remember the event. So I'm glad. I'm glad they're making us remember, I guess.
I love Secret Invasion. I just hate the way it ended. But most Marvel events. Yeah. I never read it in single issues. I actually have the trade for it, but I haven't read all the way through like in one sitting. So it's like choppy for me,
I've never read it in one sitting. I've read it in like sporadic issues, and then I've somehow completed it in that regard. I
read it as it came out, and so it was like that. The whole idea of it was like, oh, this is huge, this is really cool, and then you find out all these characters aren't who they were, and you get Mockingbird back and that kind of thing, and then it just kind of fizzled out at the end, like a lot of Marvel events do.
It just wrapped up like right when I got back into collecting comics again. That's right when it ended.
Gotcha.
All right, so let's move on now to, let's see, that was our number 3. So let's talk about, we can't talk about it too much because Brant didn't read it, but Robin and Batman issue 3.
Yeah, I got about halfway through it.
Yeah.
I will just say that it perfectly wrapped up everything it was trying to say. And it's just a really beautiful book. And I will continue to say this. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it just tells a really personal story about father and son. And I think Jeff Lemire does a beautiful job at that. And I think it ends on a good note.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you where I left off, if that helps at all. It was when Croc came to the school and was calling Robin out, and then Batman got taken, and that's kind of where I left off. So
I'll say a lot of the emotional beats happen after that.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
That's where Robin, that's where Dick, actually, kind of rises to the occasion. And has this epiphany, and he realizes who he is going to be in the future. And that whole message and story just wraps up really nicely. And again, Jeff Lemire, so good, man. He is just knocking it out of the park.
I agree.
So, all right. So then we have a comment here from Facebook user. He says, awesome show. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Glad you're sticking with us through, these late hours, because this is the only time we can ever do this show. But thank you guys.
And we were even late for this. So.
Yeah, we were even later than usual. So, yeah. All right. So let's talk about your guys' favorite Mighty Morphin issue 15. Wait, I might know something a little bit about this. Doesn't Zordon battle against Lord Zed in this issue?
Yes, he does.
The only reason why I know this because I do top 10 most anticipated or top 10 pulled indie comics on my channel. and this came up in that top 10, so I had to read the description of it.
Yeah,
it's it was more of an action issue. I would say it's really just a verse issue, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there was very little like flashback in this one, which I was appreciating. But yeah, it's kind of the culmination of the battles, and I don't know where we're going from here, but yeah, it's like that big battle between Zordon and Zed. Well, we found out recently that Zed is somebody that Zordon knew like way back before he became Zed, and so Zed kind of blames him, and he's trying to like get through to him and tell him that, no, you're being manipulated by Zardoz. So, because all their names start with Z, of course. Why? I don't know, but they do. Yeah, so that was kind of the bulk of it. And then you had like the Power Rangers battle and the Imperials and all of that. So it was a big action-heavy issue, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't... I usually like the more character-driven stuff, so it wasn't my favorite Mighty Morphin, but it still was, as always, a fun read.
Mm-hmm. Getting to see Zordon in action... it's kind of cool when you think about it, because he's just a floating head. Yeah.
That's funny.
I agree.
All right, let's move forward to number 2. Kat, what was your number 2?
Mine was Robin and Batman. We already talked about it.
And that was mine as well. And let's talk about everyone's favorite book or series. And it wrapped up. It's Marauders issue 27, as we're going to get ready for a new volume very soon. I think there's an annual, though, getting ready to come out before there is, before the new number 1 comes out. But what'd you think about this one, Kat? I'm going to ask you first. It just exists. Yeah.
It just exists. I feel like this feels like an editorial thing to me. I feel like they had such grand plans for this book, and they're I feel like there's just stuff that's being held back. Yeah. I feel like there's been stuff that's been held back in this one. So I don't know. It just why is Emma leaving? Because it just seems like these characters have to be used for other X-Men titles.
Yeah.
So Emma maybe would have been a bigger character if she didn't have to leave. A lot of this feels like it's being wrapped up because these characters are being used in other places.
Yeah.
And that feels weird. That's why I feel like this ending went down a little bit for me.
Yeah, there were some fun moments in this. I thought all the stuff with Lourdes was fine. Iceman fighting the Ice Giants just to see if he could, and calling out for the ones that Thor fights, and that was fun. I like all that, but everybody leaving just all at the same time deciding, oh, I've got something else to do. I'm going to take a break for this. It was just
coincidental is that.
Yeah.
What is this book without Emma? Is it, Emma and Kitty were the main characters. What is this book?
Kitty now. That's about it. And then the other chip.
Kitty and Bishop,
I love Kitty. I love Kitty as a character, so don't get me wrong, but I feel like Kitty hasn't really shown anything in the past couple of years.
And they still haven't solved their problem.
No, they have not. But the ending was interesting. That she might betray the X-Men.
Yeah. I did like the moment though when what's his name? What's the fire dude's name?
Pyro
and Bishop were teaming up together and trying to get a whole bunch of money for the helicarriers. Now that was great. I was really into it at that point.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, there was some fun stuff. It's just all the other stuff, all the leaving just made no sense. It was we're just all going to leave. Bye, Kate. We're all abandoning you for no reason.
We're all going to leave right now, this second.
Yeah. So the point she's just left there are you leaving too? It's everybody's leaving me. What's going on here? Yeah. It was nonsensical a little bit.
All right. Well, that's that. Good riddance to Marauders. And hopefully when we get the new volume that comes out, hopefully it will improve. So let's keep our fingers crossed there. And let's move on to Kat and I's number 1 book, which is Rain issue 1.
Rain issue 1. Yeah. I like that.
I would have felt really dumb, though, if it wasn't your number 1. But you didn't mention it as your top, so I knew it had to be that.
It was pretty obvious.
5-star book.
It was yours too, Brant? Was it yours or no?
It's either that or
you had a number 1.
Yeah, it was either that or Dark Ages. I know you guys, just because I had fun with Dark Ages, but I did really like Rain. So
okay, cool.
I'm glad to have a new indie book that we really like because I feel like it's been a while since all three of us have read like a really good issue one.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So let's go on and pass it on to. We got a question down here. Tevi is asking, weekly comic book weekly question: do you believe Zala is too far gone? Zala or Sora, what, the one from Knights of Steel, that girl?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I think that's gonna be the interesting story. That's gonna be like what's told there is like the same question as Injustice Superman. That's gonna be the root of the story, which I don't think we have an answer for.
It's going to be that confrontation between her and Wonder Woman, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. That's going to be intense.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
All right, so Brant, I'm going to pass it on to you as we will wrap up the show with our most anticipated.
Yeah, so we got a long list here. We already talked about Silk, so we'll skip that one. We were asked about Animal Castle earlier in the show, so we'll go ahead and talk about that, Mike.
I still need to catch up with issue 1, which I know is not much to catch up. How many books come out this week? Maybe I'll read it if I don't have too many. If there's a lot, then I might have to catch up later.
There's a lot of books,
Yeah, that sucks when you have that. Yeah. Oh, well, I'll read it in issue 3 maybe. I'll catch up.
So when it comes to that book, though, I'm excited for it. I'm very curious to see, like, what the hype still is, like if it still has all the hype behind it, and if the story,
or is it just a stray dogs thing? Is it just because it was like stray dogs?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know, so we'll see what happens with that.
Oh,
yeah, there's a lot of books.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this earlier. Are you guys excited for Ben Reilly's Spider-Man #1?
I'm not even getting it.
You're not even getting it?
No.
I'm gonna get it. I will definitely give it a try. And I'm hoping that it's good. It's a different writer, right? So hopefully
it's also 90s Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's taking
but
it's taking place during when he was Spider-Man. So
okay,
yeah.
But I'm like, I don't need lost stories, Ben Reilly. Like I like Ben Reilly, but I want to see like new stories from him. I don't want to go back.
Right, good Spider-Man book.
I agree. So I'm kind of torn on it. It's like Ben Reilly, so I'd probably get it, but there's a lot of books. So
if you guys say it's a 5-star book, I'll pick it up. But
I'm going to say it just so you have to buy it.
No. I'm not picking it up. You'll have to catch me at like 12 when I go.
Yeah. So we got a couple of Devil's Reigns books. We got Villains for Hire. I only marked that just because it's the Thunderbolts team from with Taskmaster and stuff, which I did like that story. So hopefully this will be interesting.
I'm on board with that. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
We do have a super chat. So new type JB Lee says, speaking of villains, are you tired of the Osborns? Because I feel like both Harry and especially Norman are overused. They should all have stayed dead. I think if Harry was utilized better in the last arc, I would say no. But I mean, if they're done right, it's a good story. Like,
so Norman Osborn was good. So. Norman Osborn was good in when he first became the Red Goblin, right before that.
That was a long time ago, though.
He was well written there, So, like Kat said, if he's well written, then the story is interesting and the character is interesting again. But if you make him like a little wimpy, oh, you cleansed me of all my sins, I'm a good boy now. Like no one wants to read that.
Yeah, I did think that was interesting just because you're waiting for him to turn back, right? Waiting for that twist. It was kind of like with Dark Reign, where now he's leading the Avengers, but he's not good. He's gonna do something evil. So that's kind of, but we never got to that point where it's like, so it kind of it fell flat. I think so. It's kind of a hard line to toe, but it's like. Spider-Man without Osborn is like Superman without Lex Luthor. It just doesn't work.
Doesn't work, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you kind of have to have them, but you be strategic in how you place them, like you guys are saying. So.
I want to see him. I want to see what he's up to. So I'm being selfish. I want to see more of him.
We do have a question. Have you seen Venom issue 4, the classic black costume? Homage variant cover. So it is an homage to 300. So
okay.
That's what it is. Yeah, it is. And it is. Look, it just looks just like it. I did actually see it. It looks really cool.
Nice. Very cool. So the other Devil's Reign book is X-Men #1. So
I'm getting next to like, how is Emma involved in this? I'm just curious.
I'm not getting this shit. I'm not. I love Emma to death, but for me, this would be a waste of money and some cheap ass.
I'm sure it will be.
Story. I'm sure it's just like something that they did with each other like forever ago, and I don't know.
It probably will be, but that has me curious enough too.
Right?
Why is
so
I can't wait to hear what you guys got to say about it.
Right. We're going to be like, oh, this was a waste.
Yeah, it's either going to be this was a waste or this is the best book yet. I don't think there's going to be a middle on this one.
Right.
If you had a secret baby with
would love. I hope that's the story.
Oh, speaking of diving into the past, Silver Surfer Rebirth #1. You're getting this, Mike?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I've been waiting for this for a long time, man. I love that 90s series. You got the same creative team that's writing it once again. I'm really looking forward to this. I've been waiting for this for so long, just as much as She-Hulk, which is on this list as well.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that next then. But yeah, so I know a lot of people revered that run. I couldn't get into Silver Surfer at that time. I don't think I was into the cosmic characters at that time, so I never read it. I think I have like one random issue.
That's crazy too, because that all took place during the Infinity War.
Yeah, I didn't read that at the time. I read that in trade later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I forget what issue I have of that, but I have like one issue that's like die cut, like special cover, and I might even have like two of them.
The Infinity Gauntlet or whatever, the very first one. The very first Infinity series.
Yeah, so we do have She-Hulk #1 as well. A lot of #1s.
So excited. That's #1 book. Can't wait. Rainbow. I'm like, there's so many things to be excited for. The writer A, but then B is She-Hulk. I'm so excited.
Yeah, this should be a fun version of She-Hulk, so I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah, this is definitely what we've been waiting for a very long time. I hope it's good. I mean, it can't be. Let's just say it can't be any worse than what we were getting, right? I mean,
if I'm being honest though, like Rainbow, there's not a world this is gonna be a bad book. Like I literally can't see a world where this will be a bad book.
Right.
It just has too good of a creative team.
Just for the pure reason that we don't have dumb She-Hulk anymore.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah. The cover looks iconic. It already feels like it's gonna be a run where you're like, this is gonna be the She-Hulk run. Yeah.
And we've already got glimpses of She-Hulk and Fantastic Four, not being dumb. So it's good. Another #1, we got Angel #1. Finally relaunching this one. Yeah.
I'm interested because Cordelia seems like more in the forefront, and it looks like it's going to be more like the TV show. Where the other one, obviously, that's something we liked. It was very different. But now I'm getting to a point where like, all right, let's just get back to what we're familiar with. If you're not going to make it new reader friendly, just jump into the TV show.
Yeah, as soon as I saw Cordelia was front and center, I knew you'd probably be on board with at least trying this one. So yeah, for sure. A book that Mike and I really enjoyed last issue, the first issue, was The Crimson Cage #2 comes out. So
yes,
yeah,
looking forward to that, man. Just such a really well told book that has to deal with like 80s wrestling, like old school wrestling, the ins and outs, how it works, how this guy is trying to be a champion, and this dude was like, oh yeah, you're gonna be the next champion. It was like all this huge setup, and there's these demons in the swamp that are, he's kind of like making a deal with the devil about him becoming the next champion. And he's got to either take that deal or not take that deal. And he's got all this pressure from his girlfriend and all this stuff. Dude, it's a great book. I really loved it.
Yeah. And, tying 80s wrestling into like an 80s style horror movie, it works. And I'm glad I have somebody to talk about a wrestling book with on this show. So that's cool. Oh, yeah. So
it's not going to be me.
right. Yeah. Poor Glow. Another book that we all read, Seven Secrets 13. Been a while since we've gotten an issue of this book.
So. I feel like that's why like my excitement for Seven Secrets has been weird, because it's just like it's been inconsistently released, and I do feel like this arc in particular, or at least the last arc, kind of struggled a little bit for me. It wasn't as exciting as that first arc, but I do hope it kind of goes back to what we know and love from the book.
Yeah, the only real big thing we got was the twist of betrayal, right? And aside
from dad's alive, I think. Was one. Yeah, that was
right.
One.
That was the last thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been such a long time.
I know. I don't even remember when this came out, but yeah, I'm always curious about it though. It's a fun series.
Tom Taylor's writing a lot of stuff, so you gotta understand we get the delays. It's like Saga delays. I mean, this book's always compared to Saga, but let's compare it again.
Why not? All right. Let's see. We talked about all those. We got Batman the Night, another #1.
Chip Zdarsky. I'm on board. That's pretty much it. That's all you need to know.
I don't know if I'm getting
this. So let's see what happens, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is another Bat book, which is always worrisome. So Brent, you don't know if you're going to get it?
Yeah, just because again, it's another Bat book and it's a big week, so we'll see what happens.
Understand.
Yeah. So we got Superman Son of Kal-El #7, and interesting things going on there.
Aqualad's going to team up. You're not going to read this issue or just the book anymore?
I think I'm done with it.
You're done with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's understandable. It's a little slow. I'm going to read for John being bi, but also I do like John. I really enjoy John as a character. Yeah. I like Tom Taylor's writing.
Yeah.
I do think it's getting to filler zone. Because this is he's teaming up with Aqualad now. And I don't really I like it because they're both queer characters, but I want to get to a plot. It's been a while.
That's the problem I have with it too. It's I think they got lost a little bit along the way of what's actually happening in this book. Yes, the character stuff is good. Exploring John's relationship with Jay is good.
The same thing about Nightwing though, because Nightwing technically plot wise, there's not much going on. That sister hasn't been in 10 issues.
That's true.
But it's such a good character story that you kind of can ignore that.
Yeah, Nightwing also got sidetracked by the event, so
you can't help that. Yeah, you can't help because of the event. This book has still been going on the whole time. And it hasn't been much of anything. And that's why I'm dropping it, because I like John as a character, but I can't get behind everything else that's behind it, plot wise, I'm just not into the plot. And it's buy too many books to just wait and see what's going to happen,
Right. Yeah, no, I totally get that. But Nightwing is our last book to talk about, so we'll talk about that one too. So yeah, I agree with you. We need to kind of circle back to all the stuff that he's been dealing with before the event sidetracked everything. So hopefully, we'll get back on track with that.
Yeah. The last issue was kind of pretty artistically. It was very nice to see those 2-page spreads as he's trying to get the person that took his dog, Haley.
Right.
Artistically, again, it was gorgeous. I love that. And, we're going to get that artwork back, and hopefully now from this point forward, we're going to get back on track from where the story last left off when Fear State happened.
Right. Exactly. And that's it for Most Anticipated.
All right. And that's it for the show, right, guys? I think we're done.
Yeah. Right. That is it. I'll just mention I do have a Kickstarter, crazily enough, launching this Monday. So go check out the Dancer issue 2. It's going to be on Kickstarter. So I'm going to give the link. We are so close to 300 followers. We're 15 follows away. So hopefully you guys can go check it out. It's about a dancer assassin who witnessed her parents being murdered in front of her and has to actually deal with that psychological trauma. It's a 4-issue miniseries. So hopefully you guys can go check it out.
Yeah, and I'll just plug Lisa's upcoming one. It's not that soon as Cats, but it is coming soon. Bloom Pretty. You can find it at bloomprettycomic.com. We've got 150 followers now, so that's awesome. It's a story of romance, obsession, murder, and plant people. How can you go wrong? So go check that out, and I just dropped a link to that as well.
Cool. All right, guys. So, and of course, for me, you guys can always find my stuff that's dropping tomorrow. I got my new comic book day. And you can check out all my other videos on the Comic Book Corner 2.0 YouTube channel. And Yeah, so that's it. So glad we could finally have a whole show and no internet problems and all that other nonsense, and it was a good show tonight. So thank you all for joining us. And if you like this video, please, before you check on out, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to either channel, either Comic Book Weekly or Comic Book Corner 2.0, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss notifications when this show actually happens. I get a lot of comments about that. And then, of course, follow us on the social media stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, YouTube. So, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week, and enjoy those comics tomorrow, guys.